everyone, I'm Anam.
I'm Ksenia, and welcome to This Wasn't in the Manual,
We're two friends and ex-colleagues who worked at the same company for over a decade.
but came from totally different worlds. I'm from Russia and moved to Dubai just recently.
And I'm from Pakistan but grew up in Dubai. And like most people, a lot of the day-to-day challenges or professional experiences we've been through were never really taught to us.
Which is exactly why we started this podcast, to share the stories, lessons, and lived experiences that don't come with a how-to guide.
Yup. Today's guest, I love our guest today. She's someone who's made her own path in a city built on hustle. Say hi to Nimrah Khan, founder of Collab Digital, from agency life, hospitality brands to launching her own thing. We're so excited for our discussion today, so let's get into it.
Hello.
Hi, Nimrah.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being on our show. We're so happy to have you.
I'm so excited to be here, especially with you.
For those of you who don't know, Nimrah is also my childhood friend and a very, very important person in my life. She's practically family. So I'm really happy and excited for everyone to get to know her more. So Nimrah, let's get into it.
So I actually moved to Dubai when I was 10. So it's been around 22 or 23 years for me over here. And it was definitely a big change for me to move to Dubai because there's such a huge cultural and lifestyle shift that you come into. So I've been here ever since and never left.
Oh, interesting. And did you move from Pakistan, I guess, right?
Yes, I did. I grew up in a city called Karachi.
Oh, nice.
And I did my schooling there and I moved here when I was 10.
Oh my God, amazing. And when did you meet Nam, by the way?
So I actually met Anam in school. We
were best friends.
We were friends from. So I joined the school in grade 6, and then this beautiful girl with really silky, beautiful hair walked in grade 7, and then I was like, I need to know her secret.
Actually, we became very, very close a little later.
Not immediately?
No, actually 2-3 years later since you moved, right? I think we became
we were friends since grade 7.
Yeah, we were best friends. She
Yeah,
loved me.
Yeah, so she was really adamant to be friends with me.
Yeah, so we've known each other since we were teenagers, I suppose. So I feel like Nimrah is integrated into my life as somebody.
Were you in the same classroom or were you at the same classroom?
Yeah.
We were in the same classroom.
No, I think 7th grade, yes. And then we
moved sections, but then it was in the same floor.
Yeah,
It's
GCSE,
next to each other.
right? So when you do science and business, basically.
Okay.
So I was business, she was science.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm curious because like you've lived in Pakistan, you've lived here in UAE. Did you notice any differences in culture or people's behavior or anything? I'm not sure because you moved at quite young age, but still.
Yeah, definitely. So it was, like I said, a very huge lifestyle and cultural change because I was coming from, growing up in Pakistan. The kind of life that you have over there is very different from Dubai. So going into a space where, going into a classroom of girls from all kinds of cultures, from Arabs to Europeans to, myself, Pakistani girls, Indian girls, and all of that. So that was a change, but also the fact that you felt really safe and you were allowed to play outside. And your parents were, completely comfortable with that and not worried. So that was definitely a change. I have a good memory of my life and my friends that were in Pakistan.
That's true.
When I was like growing up with them, I'm still friends with them. But when I was growing up here and I went into, being a teenager and everything, I was like, navigating different types of social circles. And I was trying to find my own identity as well. As you're a teenager, you have those kind of crises of your identity. So different kinds of cultures was where I was like, learning different things about different types of people and, really sharing different perspectives with them as well.
Okay, cool.
Sania moved when she was 15 from her family home to a completely different city.
Yeah, from my hometown to the capital of the country, basically.
On her own, yeah.
On my own, yeah.
And she figured out that she wanted to do that and she did it.
That's so crazy because I know a couple of like girls that were in my team as well and who are from Russia and they are girls.
Oh, really? You had Russians?
Yes. And they just they left their parents' home very early on to go to Bali or live in other cities and explore themselves. So I find that so inspiring that, they're able to do that.
Interesting. And language is quite a big topic for me. And for example, when I moved to Dubai, I struggled a lot speaking English. Nimrah, I'm not sure about the situation in Pakistan, but when you moved to Dubai, how fluent did you speak English? Or I don't know, because
Most of the times. I think that was also a shift, coming from Pakistan, growing up with all Pakistani, kids around you and family members and everything. I mean, English was spoken pretty frequently in my household. My parents both speak fluent English, and I used to speak English with my brother as well. So I think it just became a little bit more dominant language as I was in school, because I think it would also be rude to speak in another language when you have girls from other cultures. And I was friends with a lot of Arab girls. So we would be, speaking in English.
I think if anything, Arabic probably was a thing for us. Although, funnily enough, when we moved out here, I feel like the Arabs spoke more Urdu or English than
Yeah,
they
they
spoke
knew a couple of
Arabic.
words.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
knew a couple of words. I feel like they were so adaptable and welcoming when we came. Like, you'd go anywhere, they'll say "Kya hal hai," which is "How are you" in Urdu.
Yeah.
So
Or they'll
it
say
never
"Theek hai."
felt like we were out of place. And English is kind of like a compulsory subject in our schools,
Yeah.
so it wasn't like a huge culture shock.
And did you teach Arabic in school?
They
Yeah,
did.
it was mandatory actually.
It was mandatory till 10th
Do you
grade.
speak Arabic
Yeah.
now?
No, so I mean, we did whatever we could to pass those exams.
That's the same what happened to me with English, you
Yeah,
know?
really? Okay.
In
Yeah,
Russia.
but I think the only thing, I think what you're talking about is like trying to find your footing when it comes to like the language change and everything. I think for that, yes, I would feel that with Arabic. Arabic was more widely spoken, and me not being used to understanding everything that everyone is saying was something new for me. So I felt a little bit left out on not knowing that, but just picking up on those words was from that start.
Okay. And in terms of the kids' behavior, did you see any like difference between Pakistan and Dubai here? I don't know, or Dubai. Actually, you grew up in Abu Dhabi, right? Not
No,
in
I
Dubai.
grew up in Dubai and Sharjah.
Ah, okay. Because I thought that you grew up in
did.
Abu Dhabi. Ah, and then you moved to Dubai.
Yes. I grew up in Sharjah, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and then back to Dubai.
Amazing. 3 cities.
All Emirates.
Yes.
So did you see any differences in kids' behavior in school between Pakistan and UAE?
I mean, again, I think it's life. I think it's more lifestyle, and also like culture, language. I think that's what I was picking up on how other kids are different from me, on how they like speak their language and everything. And again, like I think as a child or as a teenager, I was trying to find my footing on who do I really resonate with more, or who do I identify with more. And I would stick to those friends, and the kind of friends that I had were like Anam and a mix of like other culture friends as well, because I guess I always had that hunger to know more about different types of people. So yeah, I think pretty much navigating
I think
that.
that I just have a couple of more questions about your young age. And when it comes to curriculum and to teachers, were there any differences between your hometown and Dubai?
I think it was. I was getting used to teachers from different cultures as well. And I was getting used to, I had basically moved from a junior middle school to then moving into high school. So that was the shift that I was moving into. So studies for me were very basic in Pakistan, where it was just science and we hadn't really gone into deeper subjects and everything. But coming here, it was then going into biology or making decisions, or if I want to take business or do I want to take science. So I think those were the changes over here. The curriculum here, we managed to pick the same one that we would have otherwise is studied in Pakistan as well, which is O and A levels, and which is the more of the British curriculum, versus other curriculums that were also being taught in Dubai, like Indian school systems and CBS and things like
So
that.
the way it works is that you can pick subjects you want to
There are
learn,
multiple.
right?
That's. I think that's the great thing about Dubai. Like you have diversity in terms of where you want to study and where you have. So it helps you gel from where you're coming from and where you're going into.
That's very
There's all
interesting.
kinds of boards. You can go for Australian, British, American system. I got to experience. We stuck with British. 'cause
British
that's
system,
just
and that's more widely taught in Pakistan.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like now education system has changed so
Yeah.
much. Like the dynamics and the culture generally, I don't think we can even imagine how it looks like versus when it was our time. I think.
Yeah. I
Very,
mean,
very
now you
different.
have AI being taught in school, so
Yeah, and every kid has a laptop and iPad, which is like.
Also, I have another friend who also grew up in Dubai, and she told me that actually back in the day, the education system was very like strict, and teachers were very strict, and you couldn't speak
not
up
anymore?
without. Yes,
I
as far
think
as
they
I
were.
heard.
I think they were. I
were.
think we grew up with quite a lot of strict teachers, and I think I'm missing out a very huge point on the kind of change that happened. I studied in Pakistan with boys and girls together. It wasn't segregated, so it was co-education. But when I moved here, I found it very strange that I have a class full of only girls, and boys are studying in another completely different building, but we're only sharing the bus together. I think this
Wow.
was a huge change for
Yeah.
me. It was a huge change for my parents as well.
Did you
So,
make friends with the boys?
so it was
In
almost
buses, probably.
Yeah, but
I think most
But
of
did you
it.
hang out with them? I mean, like outside of the
Once in a
buses?
while, it really depended. Honestly, there were
I think I lost that. I think I do wish I didn't have that happen if I grew up in Pakistan, because it was very normal to grow up around boys. You know, you study in a school where you have both co-education. So it was really weird to grow up and to be like restricted to not like be in touch with the other,
Yeah.
sex. It was weird. But we grew up like that. I think my parents were also adjusting to that.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
good.
this is where I felt it was strict, and it was a little bit
Yeah.
strange for me to have that shift.
For me in Abu Dhabi, it was not segregated. It was co-ed because we're a small school.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're right. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
It was strange.
It was a change, 'cause
but in
me-
your senior school, that
Yeah.
changed, right?
Because in Pakistan, I had guy friends in my class that we were in like plays together, and we were in like class art activities together,
Yeah.
and then we were suddenly only girls. It was almost forbidden to look onto the other side of the building.
Yeah. It was
So-
such a strange. Now that I think about it, it was such a strange
Yeah,
thing.
and that I think that made our parents weird as well. So
Yeah, I think so. That's true, actually. Yeah, but in your senior school, you went through co-education, right?
I think in high school then was a shift back to having boys in your class and completely taking different subjects in your A levels, higher education,
Yeah.
and that.
Actually, I completely forgot. What a unusual thing for people to hear from outside, because they're like, what does that even mean? Is it a convent school? Like, is it a religious school? Because
Exactly, yeah.
that would make sense then,
Yeah.
right? But it's not. It was a
Yeah.
regular school. And I think most of the South Asian parents that moved out here, they look for who are the other South Asian families sending their kids to
Yeah.
school? Where are they sending them? So, anything that's familiar is
Yeah.
easier,
By the way, I have one more question, because like what I see that quite often people make friends based on nationality. I mean, like Pakistani make friends with Pakistani, Russians make friends with the Russians. But when yes, exactly. So I think it's an exception. But like when you were studying, did you actually make friends from other nationalities, or actually because you also are both Pakistani? So, but
Yeah.
do you still are you still friends with someone like from your
So
school?
Nimrah was one who had more non-Pakistani friends. I personally, when growing up, I didn't. Initially, I didn't. It was only until I left junior school, like high school. I went to senior school where there were like a diversity of Arabs and British and there were not a lot of South Asians. So it's like you're almost taught growing up that if you hang out with your own nationalities, where you will continue to carry your culture and your tradition. You're almost told that, and that people from other culture will never understand you or your moral standing, which is so far from the truth.
Yeah.
People connect on a deeper level than just nationality, and I'm so glad I broke out of that sooner than later. What do you think, Nimrah? Like, what did you feel growing up? So you were around a lot, because I remember you having a lot of Arab friends
Yeah.
and Iranian friends as well.
Yeah.
So
I
you
was
gelled in pretty easily, even though like
Yeah, I think it's also to do with comfort, because it's an expat country, right? Like you gravitate towards your own type of people, and you'll see them, you feel a little bit more relatability. I think I was just naturally probably a kid who wanted to know a little bit. I just gelled with like some other type of friends who were more, I don't know.
But I think it solidifies that
Yeah.
you get to know people on deeper level, not just
Yeah.
their cultures.
Yeah.
Were you
I
a shy
guess.
kid? You weren't, right?
I was not a shy kid, I think.
Okay.
I was not a shy kid, but also I think the energy
At least
level.
you agreed on this one.
No, 100% she was not a shy kid. She was
Yeah.
an extrovert and extremely extrovert. Yeah.
So I think the friends that I made were like a little bit more extroverted, and the set of Pakistani girls from my country were a little less extroverted, I guess. And so I guess probably just gravitated towards that. I was not being racist towards my own people.
No, but I think a good segue to like just one thing that I feel like people feel Dubai is so transient, and that you cannot keep friendships. And I hear this so much, and we are a prime example that you can. And like she has some friends she's still connected to from her batch, because we were different batches. And I attended one of my really closest friends' wedding last year. Like it's like we're always in touch, you know. So I feel like you find your crew if you really want to. It's not really
Yeah.
transient as such. Like you will find your people, and people stick around. And if those that don't, you just let them keep going and just, you know,
I agree.
believe that you'll find your people. So I feel like
Yeah.
Dubai is not really as transient. I have my core friends and be open to making
That's
new
good that I
friends.
found you. I'm gonna stick to you.
Yeah, don't leave me. I gotta keep this podcast going. Okay, Nimrah, this is a very important part of this episode. You worked on both sides. You worked with big hospitality groups and agencies. What are the biggest things you've learned from those roles?
So I actually started off working in events when I started working and starting my career, and those events were based on more on the marketing industry. That just piqued my interest into looking at these big marketing campaigns and brands attending those events and showcasing their campaigns and everything. Which was some of those events were like MENA FE Awards and Festival of Media and things like that. I think that piqued my interest into that. That eventually led me into another events manager position in a hospitality brand, which was completely by accident. And that role kind of closed down in a couple of months due to internal changes and everything. So while I was looking out for another role, I landed up in a marketing agency. And this is where I kind of, when you say fake it till you make it, I was just, trying to get whatever knowledge I was having from my events experience or, whatever it may be. I was in a marketing coordinator role, and pretty much within a year, I was a marketing manager, then now taking care of a team of people with marketing coordinators and everything. So I think this is how I landed up there, and eventually then from there going into a client side and internally building a department of marketing with a client. And now working on my own, working as an entrepreneur for my own company. I think those roles have taught me, like, you never know what's going to come up next, but you're eventually going to land up somewhere where you're meant to be, because now I feel like I have joined in with events and marketing together, because a lot of the projects and retainers that I have are based on events marketing. So it's all come a full circle.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. The crazy thing is we all talk about, hey, I'm going to quit my job and do my own thing. But you did it and you've been doing it for 2 years.
Yeah.
What made you take the leap and go like, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing? I know, like, I and a lot of people have said that you are meant to be a business owner. You're not meant to follow, you're meant to lead. So what made you believe that you could do this and you started that?
I think it's a little bit of a funny story, because I changed roles from the hospitality company that I was working in. I was in a high position. I had built the department in-house after moving from an agency. It was pretty much post-COVID. And I could see the landscape changing a little bit, because people were now given the leeway of being independent. And also UAE had introduced a lot of licenses and things and opportunities for people to be able to go on their own and freelance and work remotely, because a lot of those things were changing the landscape at the moment. So I think I took that leap of faith of leaving a job that I had moved into, left it within a month, and realized that I don't think I can do the corporate life anymore, because I had proved some things to myself that I could do a lot of things on my own, build systems, be organized, and work through things on my own. So I think I just one day opened Wix.com and just wrote out a name, and then just decided that I'm going to do this in the meantime. And I didn't think that it was going to go on for a year, and then it went on for 2 years, and now it's been 3 years.
Oh, by the way, did you start doing this in parallel to your main career?
No, I just quit, and then I just sat in front of
Wow, that's
Yeah.
risky.
a website.
Tell
and
us
I-
more about collab. What is collab?
So collab was a concept that I thought of as a collaboration. That's what it stands for. So I work with, over the years, with a lot of experts in the field. People I know are highly skilled in certain areas, like some of these animators that I work with or designers that I work with, who are based here locally or also in other countries. And I felt like even if we're working in corporates and things, I still feel like we still have a lot of potential to be able to come together and work on things. A lot of those people have gone on to different companies or have even gone into freelancing and things, I wanted to build collabs so I can bring in the best of the best that I have worked with, really, taking their skills and putting it together for a certain brand or client, working independently and giving them that free space as well, giving myself that free space, and just delivering high quality, campaigns to designs to social media and whatever it may be.
Okay, so if I had to tell a friend about Collab Digital, what would I tell them? Give me a two-liner.
I think it's all things digital, and it's a collaboration between the best of the best, to
Which is events, social media, marketing.
exactly, and it's even the people that I work with. It's all of the experts that I work
Yeah.
with on, who really make a brand stand out. I
Yeah.
think that's what collab is.
And you worked with large events, in
Yes.
government events in the last 2 years. I think that those are some things that you should be really, really proud of. I think that's
Yes,
incredible.
thank you so much.
Oh, by the way, can you share one example of the
Yeah.
campaign you
Your
have
biggest
executed?
win.
I think one of my biggest win was actually just last year, at the end of last year, where I work with, again, some of these really good expert, talent that I work with always on an event for a company called Abu Dhabi Entertainment Company that is part of Mubadala. It was a government event, and it was supposed to be for a family and kids festival. It was large. It was a 3-day festival. We had the pressure of selling out the tickets in a space like Abu Dhabi, outdoors, inside Sports City, and we were running campaigns and for around like 2 months, and had to bag in over 3,000 tickets per day, and we had sold out on the first day, and then had to go get into crisis comms, and we were sold out for the next 2 days as well. I think that was, and having a room full of senior people, government people as well, clapping for you. I think that was one of our biggest wins. It had come to a point where we had to shut down ticketing booths because
Wow.
we weren't not
That's
able to
incredible.
accommodate more people. And I think me and my team felt really, really proud of achieving something like that.
That's amazing,
Yeah,
actually.
that is incredible.
Do you also organize events, or it's more about like digital campaigns?
So I a year ago, or I think 2 years ago, I started thinking about being part of events as well, because I do miss the rush of organizing an event and how rewarding it can be towards the end of it. So I did take part in project management and project directing some events. So I work with Sharjah government, on their Sharjah Book Authority, had some events happen here, like the Literature Festival, to Abu Dhabi, where we had Abu Dhabi Ports have an inauguration event with His Highness's attendance. And then we had also some events when it comes to Masdar, M Steel. So I did take part in project management for those things, being on ground, seeing everything from organization to execution and everything. I think that made me also remember that this is also a part of me that I really enjoy. This is how I started my career. So I'm now mixing into organizing events, project directing them, looking at digital campaigns, and also marketing events as well.
Amazing. I asked because digital advertising is something that I know quite well, obviously, because my background is the same. But events, it's a different story.
Yeah.
I'm curious how often something goes wrong. I mean, like you have booked the venue, you have agreed with people that they need to come and do their job. How often something goes wrong?
Probably all the time.
I think, yeah. So I think what I was even mentioned, why I mentioned as well that I worked in events, is because that's pretty much how I started my career. Things go wrong all the time. Think people don't show up on time, or clients' expectations changes, or their requirements changes, and you have to be pretty much on your feet to accommodate every single request or everything that you can manage to do. So I think there is that aspect, and I brought that into my marketing experience as well. So the event that I was talking about, there were a lot of crisis comms that we had to do and make sure that people are not coming in and showing up disappointed. So we had to change a lot of messaging, and I think the same goes for marketing as well.
Interesting.
That's pretty cool. How did you find your first client?
Actually, yes. Because I think the first client is the most important and
Yeah.
the most difficult.
I do want to mention that I've lived in Dubai for 22 years, and I feel like if I'm not going to be the one who starts a business, then who is it going to be? I feel like people who've grown up here, who've understood the landscape, the market, like are the ones who should be in it. We have so many friends from schools who are now into different jobs. And I think that really helped me also bag a lot of clients because I had the right contacts and people that I could speak to. But my first client is actually a very funny story because I walked into a cafe and I spoke to the owner of the cafe, and I noticed that their social media was pretty dead, and there wasn't many posts, and I saw there was a lot of potential that social media and digital space had. And funny enough, that client was DJ Bliss. And I just approached him and I said, I think I could really fix your social media and your digital presence. And the next thing was us having a meeting. And that's how I got 2 accounts for 2 of his businesses. And
Nimrah,
that's
you're
how I had the
amazing.
first client.
Really, you're amazing. I would never think about this approach, to be honest, to find the
Yeah.
first client. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's why they say, yes, network is important, but you have to have the willingness to just go for it.
Yeah.
And just
Exactly.
know that you can offer things that people are seeking. Because I think we're so bogged down with self-doubt constantly. Oh, I'm not
Yeah.
good enough. Or maybe this is not good enough. I'm too shy to ask
Yeah.
them.
Or I'm going to get rejected.
Or I'm going to get
Yeah.
rejected. Oh,
Yeah.
my podcast is so new. I don't know if I want to ask them. Oh, I don't know if I feel confident. Who cares, man?
I think
Are you
that's
talking
one
about
thing
me
you
right
have to
now?
know.
No, both of us. I think we were very like initially we're like, oh, where are we headed? Or like, what are we
Yeah.
doing? Even in like work, like I think
Yeah.
sometimes we doubt ourselves, like, oh, is this good enough? And
Yeah, exactly.
I remember when I was trying to make my way through the marketing agency as well, and I was trying to like impress someone like senior, and I sent her something, and I'm like, do you think this is fine? And she's like, yeah, it's good. I'm like, do you think I should do more? She's like, this is just like a female habit. Nothing ever feels like it's good enough.
Yeah.
You know? She's like, no, it's good enough, and like stop doing 160%. You know, constantly. And I think that competition with yourself as well is just like so
Yeah.
taxing at some
Yeah.
point.
I think as a business owner, you have to always have the audacity to just
Just go
be
for it.
rejected
Yeah.
and be accepted and whatever it may be. Unless you're going to ask, you're not going to get it.
Actually, it's so interesting because when we started our podcast, I was
Yeah.
very shy to ask people to come to our podcast because we
Yeah.
didn't have anything. We didn't have Instagram page. We weren't even sure about the podcast name. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not sure that I can just approach people and invite them. I can maybe ask my closest friends, but I cannot
Yeah.
ask random people.
And I was like, I'll go ask people.
But after that, we started asking people. And you know what? No one said no.
No,
Like
no,
everyone
yeah,
agreed.
yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Also, I think just to give yourself grace as well, you're also in a very new market, you know? Because I think the advantage I have over you in that scenario was, it's not that you've lived like a crazy adventurous life, but you're also new to this market. So there is this like, you know, a bit of shyness around that as well. And you're doing something that's completely out of your comfort zone. So I think now you're good, right? Go
Much
ask
better, yeah.
people on the street, like, if you want to come to the
Yeah,
podcast.
tomorrow I'm going to cafe to ask people to
Okay,
come
done.
to our podcast.
Like Nimrah did.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I
Like-
think you should.
And maybe I will also find some
Yeah.
famous people, you
yeah,
know?
exactly. 100%.
You should have to be in the right place
If you
at
find
the right time.
Andrew Garfield, make sure you ask him because I will stop being friends with you if you don't.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so actually, this is one. I do want to ask you: was there ever a moment you felt like quitting or doubted the decision of going solo?
I think people need to understand that it looks pretty, like the freedom and the flexibility of having your business looks very rosy and beautiful from the outside. But yes, there were times that I did have self-doubt, like everybody does, and wanted to get back into the corporate life and things like that. So those are days that remind you that you have to be self-driven and you have to pick yourself up, because there will be times that your phone stops ringing and people stop asking you for things. And there are periods of a summer period where people are away, because you're at the end of the day in an expat country. You know, people are not here working here all the time. They're back in their countries, they're having a vacation. And so there are peak times in a year and there are times when there is no business. So there are times you have self-doubt. There are times you want to quit. But those are the down times where you should always plan or see how you can add more innovation into your business, where you can discover other, areas of your business and how you can expand. Maybe you can dive into your financials. And those are the parts where, you can really see how you want to pivot.
Yeah, I agree. And I think people often romanticize starting their own business and quitting their 9 to 6.
Yeah,
There's
sure.
so much work. I know on a personal level through you and some of our other friends how hard it is. What's a recent experience that you realize a lot of people didn't know about that solidifies that you have to always be on top of everything? You are literally a whole business on its own, right? So you have to be on top of everything. What's a recent experience that you can share with someone listening and looking to start their own business, that as an example that they need to look out for?
If you want, I can tell you how exactly I perceive entrepreneurs, how I see their life.
Please
For
tell
example-
me.
Yeah.
Please tell me
Why
so I
not?
can break that mad myth.
Okay. So they wake up quite late, maybe 11, 12. After that, they start working
have
from
like
their bed. Then they start working from their bed because what's the point to get dressed
yeah.
and
What's
take
the
your laptop?
What's the point? Especially when you don't have your office with the team sitting in there.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yes, you have your laptop, you're in the bed, and you start answering some random emails if you want. If you don't want, you don't answer them, and you can pick clients you like working with. And after that, maybe you go to some fancy cafe
I
to
love your
have your
swinging
breakfast.
while you're doing this. She's like, yeah, and then you do this, and then you do
Already
that,
see my
and
future
you're wearing
life.
a little frock, and then you're like, I'm a business owner.
So Nimrah, tell us.
I
It's
love
it's exactly this,
I
right?
love hearing that, because I'll tell you one thing which always happens to me. So I most times, not all the time, but I most times wake up at 6 a.m. for a 7 a.m. gym class. Because
It's
if I
just
want,
because of gym, okay.
it's because of gym, and also it gives me a kickstart to start my day with,
Structure.
getting things out of the way, getting a structure in place, and also before all the WhatsApps and emails start, flooding in. So for me, I feel like that kickstart really helps. The other funny thing is, yes, there are days that I do have a nail appointment at 12 p.m. or a 1 p.m. or a 2 p.m. And I always have ladies at the salon asking me, are you sick today, or are you off today? And it's just like the most fun question that I always get. And I tell them that, no, I'm a business owner. I'm just like,
So you do have
Yeah.
this freedom of time and choosing your time as
For
well,
sure.
which is great. But but I want people to know the difficult parts of things, because I think when you start the operational work that's so taxing that people don't even realize that you need to do, because every country has their own laws. I really want to touch on a recent experience you shared with me that I
Yeah.
felt like, oh damn, like I feel like so many people probably don't even know about this, because they're just like, I'm going to be a freelancer, I'm just going to do this.
yeah.
So do you want to share that?
I think a recent eye opener for me was learning a little bit more about the VAT system in the UAE. I think a lot of times when you're a business owner or you're a single person who's handling everything operational, so when it comes to tax or financials, accounting, and everything, you always have to be on top of your game. You always have to look out for government announcements, check in with your free zone or wherever you have your company registered and things. And it's also helpful that I have friends who are also in business as well, because we always share things with each other. But in my recent experience, I had hit my VAT threshold last year, but I was late to register. So I would really love for people out there who already have businesses or are starting a new business to understand that there are limits and thresholds for voluntary registrations for VAT when it comes to hitting 175,000 in a year. And if you've already hit that, I would say go ahead and register yourself for voluntary VAT registration. But when you hit over a 375,000 mark, that's when you owe the VAT payment to the government. So this was something I learned and was not aware of the voluntary registration, working that out with an accountant right now. But you always have to be on your feet, looking out for all announcements, all the landscape changing, things changing, and things like that.
Where do you normally seek out that information?
So there are proper government websites and sections that you can look at.
Like subscribe to or anything?
So your free zone or a place where you are registered at, they're always going to be sending you any important emails when it comes to the FTA, which is Federal Tax Authority. Other than that, the website for FTA, which is Emirat Tax, where you register yourself, this is where you can find information as well. However, the entities that you are registered in are supposed to be sending you any important announcements for business owners who are registered under them, because they also have to make sure that there are no penalties for them.
But is it like easy to check them? I mean, because sometimes, at least based on my experience in Russia, you can get this information, but to understand it on your own, sometimes it's
It's very
quite tricky
difficult.
because it might contain a lot of pages, and the language might be a little bit difficult. That if you do not have degree in this sphere, you won't understand what you need to do. Is it the same here, or it's like very straightforward?
I think that way UA is very, very helpful. You know how the customer service is over here. And when I do have a doubt or anything, my company is registered in Ajman Free Zone. So I just call them up. There's a hotline for that. I do ask them as many questions that I do need. There's an online portal that I operate with as well. So everything is done over there. It's very systematic. Other than that, you can call government entities and find things out more. However, UAE does have a very open digital system where you can see a lot of FAQs, a lot of frequently asked questions already answered over there. So there are many ways. Other than that, there are entities and experts that can provide you more information who are taking this on as a service.
Okay, but you don't have a tax advisor or anything like this right now, right? So you
We
do.
didn't really grow up with this model here because tax wasn't a thing growing up here. So
Yeah.
I think now there are
Yeah.
consultants and advisors generally.
Yeah.
If you really need it, then we go for it. Like we also have friends who are business owners and they have like advisors and accountants who we seek help from, and like friends and family who are in that space. So we get around to that. But yes, there are advisors. It's hard to find somebody who's like not gonna rip you off. But like, it's just it's very new to us because taxation is not a thing that we have to deal with.
Thankfully we have, again, like living here for so many years, thankfully we have friends who have their own businesses.
Yeah, and the
these are
network
friends
as
we can
well.
ask, for like any questions that we need to ask. And thankfully the freelancers and the experts that I work with in my team, they are also in touch with me to let me know if I heard about a different change.
Yeah.
And that really helps.
So network. I think
Yeah.
this is one thing we learn. Nimrah, what are the 3 top things that you would say a business owner who's looking to start a service-based business or a side hustle probably, what should they keep in mind and how do they go about it? Top 3 things.
I think the first thing definitely would be to research and see the kind of service you want to offer and see what's happening in the market right now. I think the second thing is just asking a lot of questions. I think this is where you're going to be a little bit more clear on which direction you want to head, and also you'll be able to learn from the other person. I think these 2 are my top 2, and 3 would be
Don't have to. It doesn't have to be 3. If that's a top 2, then that's a top 2. That's okay.
Let's change the topic. I'm curious about your hobbies. So, what do you usually do? Like, I heard about the gym. Do you have any other hobbies? And you know what? Because sometimes after the whole busy day, for me, I feel exhausted because, like, I've talked to so many people that, for example, I go running because it helps me to recharge. But do you have some like routine or some tips? What helps you to recharge?
What helps me to recharge? I think I'm a very social person. I think hanging out with my friends helps me recharge, and hanging out with somebody like my friend Anam, who's right here next to me. I like to just, talk about, just yap away. And that's my favorite thing to do and makes me feel recharged. Or other times it's, just taking a walk or going to the gym. And I think those things are also really relaxing. Watching your favorite show. So I always make sure I do have that kind of balance even on the busiest days. Even when I was busy with 3 big clients, including government months, I would make sure that I get a walk at night, just have my silence with no emails and my phone on do not disturb. So I think that's a very important thing.
Yeah, I can attest. I think one thing about Nimrah is she will show up and she's usually the person you call if you need to, like, I don't know, get away from your rut, and she brings in that great energy, and she shows up for everyone, but I love one thing about her, that she shows up for herself as well, because a lot of people miss out. So there's either you show up for people and then you like make yourself suffer, but I believe she thrives on like external, just like being productive, and or also just not being productive with friends, just like being there for friends, doing activities. And Nimrah's always been that. We have this running joke, like Nimrah doesn't get tired, but we get tired of seeing her stories because Nimrah's everywhere. She's that one friend. Have you seen that meme where they go like, one friend who cannot pick a lifestyle? That's
That's me.
That's
I'm like,
literally her.
the
She's had like 4 outfit change in one day, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
girl, I'm still at work, clicking away, sending emails. Like, no, it's quite inspiring.
How do you do this? Because, like, as far as I understood, after the whole working day busy with different people, with different clients, dealing with different troubles and issues. After that, you go and help Anam to shoot this podcast because our previous guest canceled it last minute.
Yeah.
And after that, you're going to the gym, and
Yeah.
then you're also going to hang out with some other friends.
Yeah.
And maybe
I
you
actually have a
also are
dinner.
going to publish
I
something
actually have a
on
dinner
social
at
media.
10 p.m. So I'm gonna go home, change, and then go to that dinner.
Yeah.
What? How do you do this?
Touch
Really?
wood, yeah.
I think the only way and that's what I realize that I can do. I am a self-motivated and self-driven person.
Yeah.
And when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, you have to be a social person too.
Have you ever been exhausted, and how did you deal with it?
I have. There was a time that I was waking up at 6 a.m. and was handling multiple accounts at the same time, some government related ones as well, and my days would end around 2 a.m. I knew I could find some silence early in the morning where I would not be flooded with messages and emails. This was one of the things that I did for myself. And other times I would find a half an hour or an hour for myself. Sometimes I would book a movie for myself in a great theater experience at 9 p.m. if that would give me a 2 hour break, or otherwise it would be just an hour of getting my nails done or a walk for an hour, just in the middle of the night. So I think I've always made sure that I show up for myself, because if I'm not going to be fully, balancing something out, then I'm not going to give my best to my work as well.
Yeah, that's amazing, Nimrah. Really.
You got a great one, yeah?
Yeah. Can you tell us about the moment that you felt wasn't in the manual when you were starting your own business?
I think one thing that really that I learned when I started my business, and that surprised me as well, that there are people out there who really work with verbal agreements and don't have written contracts in place.
Really?
Yes, some people actually
Like
operate.
big contracts, you mean?
I mean, small to big, there are agreements that happen between a client and an agency, and there are no contracts in place. I think that was one thing that really, really surprised me. And the other thing was, with the kind of budgets that I would be approached with from clients, that would not match up with the kind of skills I bring to the table. And other, people that are in the business would be able to take advantage of that. I think those were definitely not on the manual. And I was surprised to learn that for sure.
Did you agree to work without contract?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, which is quite interesting, because I feel like a lot of us, because we are friends, we can just like continue doing as we're doing, and then you don't think about it. But I think as a business owner, you need to put things in writing, and you need to be smart about it. Business is business, like,
I agree.
But I respect that a lot. I think just having structure, this comes with the whole structure thing that you spoke about.
Yeah,
I think it's not
for
just
sure.
in personal life and just work life. You actually stand by it across the board, so which is amazing.
Yeah.
So we're all expats here. We as we grow older, we go independent. We're working. We have our own businesses. How do you, because businesses have their ups and downs, how do you ensure that you are future proof? Are you investing somewhere? Are you saving? What's your go-to method to ensure that if the next month is a bit dry, how do I keep going?
So I think I do want to learn more about investments and in assets and things as well. I think that is something I do want to explore. And I think you and I also talk about this a lot as well. That is an area I haven't explored a lot. However, I do know that, for example, summer is a time when there's not going to be a lot of business flowing in. So I do plan my year ahead in terms of any of the expenses that I have. So I live alone. I live by myself. So I have rent to pay. I have car insurances to pay, car renewals to be done. And I do support my family back home in Pakistan as well. So I have to, I do have to look at those expenses, and sometimes I do put some of that money on the side into savings, or otherwise I look into buying gold and things like that. Those are the ways that I'm investing. Otherwise, I invest in myself and I travel.
That's amazing. I actually want, on this point, I feel like, is there ever an option when somebody's starting their own business that they only use their personal account, or that's not an option? Because I want to know, why did you decide to have a business account versus personal account? Is that a requirement when you're starting a business?
Yeah, definitely. So when you're going to be doing anything when it comes to, your audit or your accounting and everything, you have to have a business account. It should
Yeah.
not have any of your personal transactions into it. Earlier on, I didn't have a business account set up. I was still learning which one I should go for. So I discovered, multiple ones where there was Mushrik, MSNBD and things like that. But there was a really good brand called VO where I registered and it had a great package for small business owners and everything. And then I eventually opened an account over there. And that's helped me build a history over there that I can, submit into any kind of VAT services or any official requirements.
That's amazing. I think a lot of people don't know that they should separate that.
For sure. It has to be
If it's not
separated.
a hard requirement, then like maybe people then have to separate their personal, and then creating separate accounts is better.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's amazing. I love this. Thank you, Nimi, for being here.
I have had the best time chatting with both of you, and I'm so excited for your podcast, and I am excited to see more great things that you guys do.
Yeah, we look forward to it. No, thank you so much. Your insights were so valuable. I feel like a lot of times you tell me these things and I don't comprehend how much effort it takes. But like sitting here, I feel like I've learned a lot more because we're just focused on this conversation, and I know how much hard work you put into building this business and how much you do day to day. But I love that you shared the fun parts as well, because it's always either or. And
For sure.
This was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nimrah.
That